Of the amendments to the historic preservation ordinance. Just ask that if you take a look at it so we can ultimately put it on the agenda for introduction. It's been, we took the previous draft and we've really done a complete overhaul of it, I think, in terms of providing due process to those whose properties are sought to be declared as historic sites. And this has been vetted through Diana McGovern and Barry Kazira, who have helped me with the draft. I know it's been presented to the planning board, who does the master plan review, and they have a copy of it. So if you take a look, what we did was we tried to incorporate a lot of the notice provisions, almost like a typical variance application, but also, giving people an opportunity to appear before the Historic Preservation Society if their property is sought to be considered historic. So they'll have a chance to address them at that and also to address them at the planning board. If a property is declared historic by the planning board, after due process in a hearing, that the homeowner or business owner, whatever type of building, would have a right to appeal. So, and there's a penalty if you fail to comply in terms of your property. And there's also a provision for doing repairs to your property, like a property that's already been deemed a historic site. It's all contained in.
So this is a new ordinance?
It's
Because
replacing.
I only see one red line section,
Yeah, I
but
don't
that
know.
was the only change.
No,
I don't know what that is.
You know what, if you saw the one
There's
with
been
all the
about-
changes,
It's
we
impossible
should
to
get
read.
that.
There's 10, we did 10, we went through 10 different versions. So it's kind of, I can try to give you I'll give you the original.
That was the one that came out of the change at the planning board level. There's one change at the planning board level. Previous, the old ordinance, there's, how many did you say, 10? 10
How many
revisions
iterations we
between-
went? At least 10, at least.
Between Mr. Genitempo, Mr. Kazira, and Mrs. McGovern.
That was
We
just,
had our,
Oh, so it was a legal thing?
that was, that was just the last, Commissioner, that
I
was.
can't
the-
imagine
Yeah, I
10
know.
iterations of this.
That was the, believe me, it was went through a
Well, it's
lot.
important, 10
Yeah, I
versions.
think what you added is all the notice provisions, the hearing provision, those are all new. So there's like large sections of it. When I read through it, those are the things that came out to
we
me.
should get the other version.
Yeah, of course. I'll email both versions to everybody. It's just that it's hard to read in red line, harder to read than if you just read it and then compare it to the other one. It's just almost impossible. Because we move things around and it's totally changed. But it's the main part of it is still the same in terms of the purpose. I think we clarified it a little bit.
It's really the notice provisions that you guys worked on the most.
That was the biggest part. That was the goal going in.
Give a notice at and not only at the committee hearing, but also at the planning board hearing.
Even what type of notice?
So-
Where they have to give written notice to the people whose property they're considering to make historic. Where in the past, it wasn't really that clear and we ran into a problem.
So it's not a voluntary
The historic preservation.
exercise?
There's a committee that meets first,
My exact question.
and they make a recommendation to the planning board. And then they have a right to appear at that meeting. And then if it still gets recommended to the planning board that there be a designation, then you have a right to contest it at that level, if you're the homeowner. If you volunteer, then it's
So
no,
we're
there's no
gonna
problem.
tell them that they have an historic, that they have an historic property. And if they want to appeal it,
Anyway,
then they have to go to the planning board to,
No, that's where the original hearing will be. The first hearing is not really a hearing, it's a meeting of the Historic Society.
right.
You get to meet with them and discuss what they want to do. If they still want to recommend making the property historic, then they'd file a recommendation with the planning board. The planning board then has to give notice to the owner of when the hearing is going to be held. Then you have a right to go to the hearing and contest it.
Okay.
Because we had a problem.
So what happens if a homeowner, their house
you
is
raised the same
being,
question I did.
for historic,
Don't
they
you
don't
remember,
want
like
it
in the
to
early
fight.
round of this,
but they have
it
to
was sort
fight.
of all voluntary?
Yes, I do remember that, and that's why I asked that
But,
question.
I remember-
but it wasn't. Whatever ordinance we had on the books wasn't voluntary
Whatever
at all.
you and I remember, that didn't say, that
Right.
language never
Now, that
made.
never made it to print,
Right.
okay.
And then, when the bank property came up,
Mm-hmm.
I remember that one.
right, the bank property came up and was brought up with really no notice to the bank besides, oh, by the way, we're gonna think of making your property historic. They ran into some problems. And, you know, one of the questions I asked at that time, is the bank on board with this? And I got a kind of
remember that.
50-50 answer. Well, we told them about it,
One of those
but
political answers.
What are those?
Still do respect everyone
What
sitting
are
at this
those?
table.
I didn't get the
So
right answer.
does this, in your professional opinion, will this have an impact on property values? If people are restricted to do certain things and only use
Well, they already
similar in
were.
appearance and size materials?
They already were. That was in there before.
Right.
So this gives them greater power to oppose that.
Oh, so
So if I want to paint my house, for example, I'm already historic.
Mhm.
I don't think I am, but if I was, and I wanted to
It's
paint my
quite a
house.
beautiful house, though. Go
Well,
ahead.
thank you. I wanted to paint my house, and it was under the, I have to get approval to paint it a certain color. And if I didn't agree with the determination of the committee, then I could go to the planning board. And if I lost there, I could appeal even further.
To where?
And what about interior
Court.
Supreme
renovations?
Court?
Interior renovations aren't covered.
So we're basically putting a historic preservation ordinance that basically covers the shell of the house, but we're not preserving anything in the house,
Correct.
because you can modernize and do what you want on the
Right.
inside.
Are we voting on this tonight?
No,
No, just to take a look at
just
it.
take a look at it. Just
I'll shoot everybody.
Only
out.
because on its face, it sounds a little heavy-handed to me, but
Oh, if you read
I'll
it-
reserve my comments until,
But
it's not as heavy-handed as the original.
think about this.
well, then the original one was, I'm sure, flawed. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
because
it was.
what our understanding was and what got translated to print may not have been the same thing, so, you know, and maybe,
I mean, I think just one quick recommendation, because I always thought they were recommendations, Al, I didn't know that they were going to court and all that stuff, but if a house is gonna transfer into a new buyer, and that, if we say that there's 100 houses that are historic in Nutley, and as they transfer, we say, well, you know, if you're gonna buy this house, these are the new guidelines on it. Then you give the buyer option at that time to say, you know what, I don't wanna be regulated by these rules. But for somebody to have a house like that, and all of a sudden we start changing the rules, you know, I think is gonna create a lot of problems for a lot
What
of
doesn't,
people.
what doesn't make sense to me is that you're only preserving the outside. I mean, when you talk about historical preservation, it should be the entire home. I
Well,
mean, you
part
could have
of-
a 300-year-old, you know, mantle in there or something. You're gonna say
Right.
it's okay to tear that down. What's so historical about it if you just have the shell and not,
Right.
you know? I think we
Well,
gotta
part of
think
the
about
problem
that.
is that
You see
obviously
that in there too.
historic buildings aren't suited for, or meet code, current electrical and plumbing. So there's no way that you could recreate an inside. You could try in terms of the fit and the look, but you're gonna violate the bounds of what it was originally, the historic nature of it. So I think that's why, and again, I didn't write that part of it, that's been in existence. And this follows a statute, so it's not like we're recreating the wheel here. So why don't I do this, I'll get you the statute, I'll get you the old one and the new one. Listen, you guys have the right to not have any historic preservation ordinance if you want. That's, you know, up to your choice. So, but we try to improve it for notice reasons for people who would be subject to
and after 10 versions, you're all to be commended.
it. No, don't, wait till you read it, then tell me.
I don't know, I'm not saying that I agree with it, I'm saying you're to be commended for going through 10 versions.
Thanks. It was rough.
Do we need any executive sessions?
We do.
Yes.
So I needed a minute, one of them for, I guess it would be called a contract value.
Okay.
Actually,
I
two.
have litigation on the COA. I need to talk about contracts on the cell tower and some personnel.
And potential litigation.
And there's another potential. Thank you.
You're always practicing law.
Yeah.
Motion?
Move it.
Second.